Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about managerial blunders from the White Sox, Cubs pitching woes and hitting woes, and we'll be talking a little Bears. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You can see the Stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. And from what I'm hearing, the city of Rockford is allowing fans in the stadium. So make sure to head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, and check on tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all you know who are celebrating as well. And you just brought up getting hockey tickets in that little promo you just had for the Rockford Ice Hogs.
I did.
So guess what? Monday night, the season finale for the Blackhawks. I got my dad and I 2 tickets in the 300 level at the United Center for the season finale, which means nothing to either team.
That's still awesome, though. I mean, it's hilarious that the city of Chicago was like, yes, you can have fans, some fans, with 2 games left in the season.
Yeah, for the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Like, how many home games left did the Bulls have? 3, 4? I'm not sure. But with the Blackhawks, it was literally like 2. The only people they had in the stands before that was like family and family friends, where it was only these 2 games where we were able to obviously buy tickets. And so I got wind of it and I saw the promos, yada, yada. You could buy tickets here, blah, blah, blah. So it was May 4th at 12 o'clock. Okay, I'll just get on my phone while I'm working and I'll wait in the lobby, see if I could get in. I got in within seconds to that lobby. I thought, okay, when I had the Cubs, it took me maybe 25 minutes to get into the lobby. With this, it was like waiting. Okay, you're in. And my thought is that the demand, even though it was only 20%, even though Hawks fans haven't been able to attend a game since mid-March last year, my thought was, well, maybe demand just isn't overly high, and people are thinking, well, it's a meaningless game. It's a Monday night at 7 o'clock. Am I really going to go out and buy tickets? Suckers like me, yes, but are many other people, maybe not. If the Blackhawks had the playoffs on the line, I definitely think the demand would be higher. Or even if, they'd already clinched, but, you had a chance to see them in the regular season before they went to the playoffs, definitely. But I think in this case scenario, it might have been a little easier to get the tickets, just considering where the Blackhawks are, and that is officially not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I was thinking about it, and I'm like, do I want to go? Do I want to sit there and when it's the end of a tough season and, wondering what kind of protocols are going to be in place and then have to go on a weeknight to, down there and either find parking or take the L down or whatever. I didn't end up doing it. I thought about it. I was like, do I want to? And I'm like, I don't even know what the prices were. Were they standard ticket prices or were they more expensive?
So before tax, the tickets were $54 in the 300 level. So you're still paying a decent penny for that. To put it in context, the last Blackhawks game I went to, like right before the pandemic started. Now, of course, this was second party. I bought these off, I think it was SeatGeek. No, not SeatGeek. No, maybe it was SeatGeek. Anyway, I bought those for about $78 in like the same area, and this was $54. But keep in mind, I got opening weekend Cubs tickets on their website for $34. And that was for the beginning of the baseball season in the lower deck. These are 300 level Blackhawks tickets for the last game of the season, and that means nothing. So, still paying a decent amount. Not usual full price, but a decent amount.
Yeah, I'm seeing on StubHub right now I see 4 tickets for $89, and then the rest go over into triple digits.
I mean, I know I spent some money on these tickets, but I couldn't imagine spending like hundreds of dollars in like the 100 area. I think most people sitting down there are probably going to be like season ticket holders, which if you have season tickets, I mean, if you have a chance to go, I'd go if I had season tickets, but I'm not a season ticket holder. I just bought these because I wanted to. So I kind of thought to myself, okay, if they're more than like $70, forget it.
Yeah, I see in StubHub. Granted, this is third-party tickets here. Tickets in the 113 row 15 for $1,168 each.
Good gravy.
That's stupid. Why would you pay that?
If that was a playoff game, a 25% playoff game, I could see it. It's still an albatross amount of money. I wouldn't spend it. But at least you could say it was a playoff game. But this is the farthest. This is, really, this is pretty much the equivalent of a preseason game. Let's be real. And I say that as I spent money on those tickets.
Yeah, this is from somebody that, goes to, when they have them, a Bears preseason game every year. So I'm not, but you know what you're going into and the expectations, and this is not a playoff team, and they're a team that's really struggling right now. And all said and done, I will probably hit up a friend and see if we can get last minute tickets and go anyway.
Well, let me know. Be sure to let me know if you're there.
Yeah, I will. I'll text you if I'm there. So I'll watch.
You know what I was joking with my dad when I got the tickets? I said, we're going to get the old Bill Wirtz experience, because the crowd may seem weird now, but when I was a kid, the crowd we're going to see when we're there was pretty much normal at the United Center.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see. It's going to be crazy to watch a Blackhawks game that empty. I mean, even like, like anything, like you never see the fan fest sold out. Everything is just packed for years and years. It's been a long time since you've seen an empty Blackhawk stadium, So it's going to be.
They've sold out every game since 2008. To put into context.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk baseball or football? Because honestly, that was as much hockey talk as I can stomach after this past week, and I don't really want to talk Bulls because they're a Jekyll and Hyde mess too.
Yeah, I mean, what angers me about the Bulls is, I mean, I shouldn't say it more frustrates me because, Zach LaVine, he couldn't really help it. So, but all I'm going to say is, of course, like they kind of dig themselves a major hole at the end of the season. Then Zach LaVine comes back and they start winning games again. And it's like, well, it might be a little too late. But because, honestly, I was at the point where, okay, you made the Vukovic trade. You're clearly not trying to tank. And even if you tried to tank, unless you got a top 4 pick, you're not getting a first round pick anyway. So my hope was, honestly, at that point, say, you know what, get into the playoffs, get some playoff experience with this core, and then you could add more to that as you go on. But, we might not even get that. So, yeah, I mean, Bulls and Blackhawks, United Center Sports has just, completely fizzled away, and we're entering another year where the United Center is going to be empty for playoffs regardless. And, for me, in my lifetime, it's kind of a big deal because most of my sports watching life, at least one of those teams is hosting playoff games at the United Center in spring. But, we didn't have it last year. The Blackhawks bullshitted their way to the playoffs, but, they played in Edmonton. The year before that, neither team made the playoffs. And the year before that, neither team made the playoffs. So here's to another empty playoff-less season at the United Center. Woohoo.
I think that'll change next year. I'm pretty sure. I feel the Bulls with a full off season. They have 2 All-Stars, and with having some money and being able to make some moves in the off season, I feel they'll make the playoffs next year. And
unless there's a disgusting amount of injuries, there should be no excuse for them not to be in the playoffs next year.
Like in a real playoff team, not this bottom barrel, who's gonna play the play-in games. I think they'll be in the middle, the 4, 5, 6 seed. I feel like
if they make a 5 seed next year, I'd take it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rough go it was terrible timing for Zach to test positive for COVID. It was just really tough because they were in line to possibly make that play-in tournament, but the way it stands right now is I think I forgot who was right ahead of them, but that team just keeps winning. I don't want to misquote NBA standings.
Yeah, don't ask me because I've kind of lost track of the standings a while ago.
Yeah, standings. Why did it switch? Yeah, it was Washington. That's what I thought. But so there's the 7, 8, 9, 10 teams will be in the play-ins, and the Bulls are 3 back from Indiana Pacers in the last spot. Ooh, the Pacers are plummeting. And the Bulls don't have too many games left to...
So there's still kind of a chance, right?
Let's see.
Kinda.
How many games left do the Bulls have?
Not many.
Not many. I mean, so they got Tuesday they play Brooklyn, Thursday Toronto, Saturday Brooklyn, Sunday Milwaukee. They have 4 games left to make up 3.
And you have to play the Nets twice and the Bucks.
You have to pay the Nets twice, the Bucks, and the Raptors.
Though, I mean, shouldn't the Bucks and the Nets? I mean, unless seeding, unless they're playing for seeding, I don't know. I'm just wonder if maybe they take the foot off the gas towards the end.
Maybe. I mean, they should beat Toronto.
Should, but will they?
Yeah. Who's Indiana got left? I mean, it's going to be a miracle, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not counting on it.
They've got the Cavs, the 76ers, the Bucks, Lakers, and Pacers. Bulls got to make up 3. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I don't either.
Yeah.
You never know, but, we'll see.
If they do, it'll be the 10 seed. So they would be playing the Wizards. The Wizards for the opportunity to play the loser of the Celtics versus the Hornets. And if they won that, then they would go on to play the 76ers.
Yeah, lovely.
So really, if you were the 9-10 seed, it is it worth it? You're going to be in the play-in. You're going to have to win 2 series in order to go and get destroyed by the 76ers.
I really hope that play-in tournament isn't a permanent thing.
I mean, do I like it? There's a couple of things I do like. I like that it incentivizes teams to try hard because there's a possibility they can make the playoffs, and it rewards the number 1 and number 2 seeds for doing well. Do
they need more rewards though? I mean, they pretty much beat the crap out of 7 and 8 anyway.
Yeah, baseball is what needs to do a play-in tournament because baseball teams don't reward the top seeds enough. But basketball, really the top seeds are just going to go along anyway. I think it's just a kind of a cash grab by the NBA. They're like,
of course it is.
Let's get some more games on TV. I mean, I'm not one of those people that's like losing sleep over it because there's a lot of people that are mad, and I just don't care, honestly. I don't know if I'll watch any in the East. Not sure if I'm going to watch.
No,
that's but in the
Tournament of the Damned is what they should call the East.
But the West, I mean, if it were to start right now, the Lakers and Golden State Warriors would be playing.
See, that could be interesting.
Yes. And the winner of the Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors would play the Suns, which I think either one of those teams has a legit chance to beat the Suns. The Suns, I think, they're a regular season good team. I don't know I think they're beatable. And then it would be Memphis and San Antonio playing. And then they would go on to play, the winner of that would go on to play the loser of between the Lakers and Warriors for the chance to play the Utah Jazz, who are the weakest number 1 seed I've seen in a long time. So,
wow, they're still number 1, huh?
Yeah. So the West will be actually fun to watch.
The West is usually better than the East, so not surprising.
The East is just going to be Bobo.
There's maybe 2 or 3 legitimate championship contending teams from the East.
I mean, the East, 76ers, Brooklyn. I don't think Milwaukee is legitimate. I think it's just either Philadelphia or Brooklyn, honestly.
So you're not big on the Bucks, huh?
No, I don't think they're terrible. I just don't think that they could win a title this year.
Yeah, the team going into this year from the East that I thought could be an interesting candidate, that's been not bad, not great. I looked at the Heat, and I'm like, I wonder if the Heat could make a possible run. They're currently the 6th seed. They're 37 and 31, and yeah, I think that's out the window. And look, I give a lot of credit to the Knicks. They're 38 and 30. They're the 4th seed. Nobody expected them to play at this level. But do I think they're going far in the postseason? No, I don't.
No, but that's the first series. I was about to say is that's going to be the only first round series I'll watch from the East is the Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. I think it's going to be a fun series. It's going to be 2 up and coming teams. It's kind of maybe a preview of better things we'll see next year. So I think
for sure.
I think that'll be a fun series.
Well, I also see too, as it stands right now, I mentioned the Heat before. They'd be playing the Bucks, and the Bucks and the Heat wasn't that last year's Eastern Conference Finals, or not the conference final, but didn't they meet in the playoffs?
I believe they did.
My
memory.
I don't remember. I honestly did not watch that much of the playoffs last year because it was still in that really weird sports time.
So, do you want to just talk Bears a little bit, and then we can dive right into baseball?
Sure.
At first, I just want to say rest in peace to Tariq Cohen's brother. He was found deceased this morning. I just saw the news, it was a couple hours ago. I saw Tariq Cohen tweet out about looking for help to find his brother. And, you'd always hope that you'd there'd be a positive end to that story, but there was not. So rest in peace to Tariq Cohen's twin brother. And, my thoughts are with the Cohen family.
Yeah, that's really sad. Really, really sad. Rest in peace.
A bit of Bears news is they signed Damiere Byrd, wide receiver, who was a throwaway kind of guy, bench kind of guy. And then last year had a really good season with the New England Patriots. Caught 47 passes for 604 yards. And that's not world-breaking stuff, but he really found a groove with Cam Newton, and came on as one of his go-to receivers. And it's not a bad signing as a 1-year deal, probably for the veteran minimum for the Bears. Shoring up as best you can that wide receiver core. If there was one hiccup for the draft is, there was some really dynamic wide receivers in that draft that went all the way through probably 4th, 5th, maybe 5th round that I would have liked to seen the Bears get. But, when you get Justin Fields and Tevin Jenkins, there's got to be some fallout there of missing out on a few other guys. So, but they're shoring up the wide receiver spots as best they can. And I really hope that this offense starts clicking next season, because I think the Bears defense is going to take a big step back because of some players that are older, and some, and the secondary is going to be pretty shoddy, I think. So that offense is going to need to step it up and score some points this year.
Well, right now you have pretty much the same defense minus Kyle Fuller. You didn't draft any notable defenders, which we didn't really expect much of that. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears defense does. I can't help but wonder if new defensive coordinator not named Chuck Pagano might help out a little bit, because I just... when they first brought in Chuck Pagano, I really liked the idea. I praised the idea. It seemed to make sense. But, just watching last year, just the way they played soft, I don't think he played fully to their strengths. So, maybe a new coordinator will get the most out of the defensive line and some of the secondary folks like Eddie Jackson, who had a kind of rough year last year, to say the least. But, you're absolutely right. These guys are all a year older. Akeem Hicks has had some injury issues the past few years. Khalil Mack, he's not old by any means, but, he's upper 20s? So, that's something to keep in mind. But I still think the defense can be very good. If the offense is very good and the defense is good, then you'll take that. You'll absolutely take that.
Yeah, I mean, if your defense is still in the top half of the league, and you could get your offense, and it's funny, every year before the start of the season, we all say, if the Bears can get an offense that's average, the Bears might be okay. And every year, that's just like, it seems like an out of reach thing. Like, man, can't get an average offense. So if they can keep that defense in the top half of the league, and I think that's doable. And the
Absolutely.
offense, especially if Robert Quinn remembers how to play and Akeem Hicks is healthy and Khalil Mack is healthy, I think it's doable. But if that offense can just figure it out and be in the average of the league, this won't be so bad. And what I don't want to happen is the Bears just bottom out this year, because it's going to make, even though I'm happy we have Justin Fields, if we have to give away a top 5 pick next year to the Giants for it, it's just going to make me pissed off. But if it ends up being I don't know, a number 15, 16, 17 pick, and we gave up the number 20 pick and the number 17 pick for Justin Fields. Meh. Big meh. I will not care at all.
Well, I see it this way. No matter what the Bears do, if Justin Fields gets playing time and he looks really good, fine. It is what it is. If we see legitimate promise in our future franchise quarterback, I'll take it. But at the same time, I agree with you, because I see the Bears right now, even with Justin Fields, as kind of where they were last year, a middling team. And I can't say they're vastly improved yet, because we don't know how much Justin Fields is going to play next year. And while I have confidence that Justin Fields can succeed, we still haven't seen him play a down in the NFL yet. That's not me doubting him. It's just you don't want to jump to any conclusions before you see him play yet. So it's kind of hard to assign how many more wins or losses a newly drafted quarterback gives you. And let's say you start next year and Andy Dalton is your quarterback. He's not going to win you games. I'm not sure he's going to lose you games. A lot of it is going to rest on how the rest of the offense functions and how the defense functions. If the defense keeps you in games and the offense does enough to keep you in games as well, like the last few years, you can squeak out some wins. I mean, they've pretty much been winning games by squeaking it out in some way or another, with one or two big plays, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side. But if you get Justin Fields and he starts playing well, then all of a sudden your feelings towards the Bears drastically change, because that's going to make all the difference.
I think what's important is the Bears establishing a run game.
Yes.
And with the running backs that they have and the way that they improved, now the offensive line, did it improve? We don't know, because you gave up 2 veteran tackles who weren't very good last year, but you were starting a second-round rookie left tackle who was a right tackle in college. You're starting him at left tackle, which I think, watching more and more film on him, I think he's very smart. And I watched how smart he is against, this is slightly tangential, but I watched his hand movement, and we talked a bit about how he's got short arms and that doesn't really bode well for tackles, but I watched how smart he is and how he baits edge rushers, and what he was able to do. And so he would fake giving his hand, and it would kind of bait the defensive end or the edge rusher into taking the outside, where they were hoping to get underneath his arm and take the corner, and he would just pull it away and then slap down their hand, and then next thing they know, they're in his chest and there's nothing they can do. He swallowed him up. Or he had this other move where he would give his chest and let the edge rusher put their hand in like they were going to, go full force and just chop their hand down. And you just watched, like, he had a crazy number of pancake blocks because he just let the momentum of the edge rusher take over. And when he chopped their hand down, they literally fell on their face. I saw it multiple times, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. He let them fall on their faces and make them look dumb. And it wasn't against nobodies. It was against guys that got drafted in the first couple rounds as edge rushers in this current draft. So it's against guys that have talent. And, so I'm like, this guy is really smart and his technique is good. Tevin Jenkins is I think going to be okay. It's that right side. But either way, any way you look at it is, The interior of offensive line, I think, is going to be much better. We have healthy guys right now. Is we can have decent play on the right tackle spot, then I think we can have a good run game, or at least an
I think just
acceptable one.
at the end of last year, the end of last year alone, I think finally showed Bears brass, hey, we can run the ball. I mean, David Montgomery had a really good year last year, and you could say, oh yeah, second half they weren't playing that many quality opponents, but still, you saw what David Montgomery was able to do. When he's able to find a hole, he's able to get through it, and he's able to bounce off tackles. The way he bounces off guys is really, really impressive. You got to use that. And the way we saw it towards the end of last year, the run game was a great asset for the Bears, which is something we've been waiting to see ever since Matt Nagy got here. We've been waiting to see them use the run efficiently, and we finally saw that. So hopefully, not only does that give confidence in the Bears' backs, but it gives confidence in the coaching staff to use it more. So I actually do feel like they will come out utilizing the run more often, regardless of Dalton, regardless of Justin Fields. At least I would hope so. You got to, right? I mean, you just got to.
I think so, because Andy Dalton is not going to win you games at quarterback. And if you can establish a strong run game, you're going to make him better. And if Justin Fields, if and when he plays, you want a strong run game to protect him as well. It's all fine and good to give your rookie quarterback all these weapons, but if you can't protect him, and I think part of protecting him is establishing a good run game, because you're not going to have a good run game if you have bad offensive line play. So I think that's really important. And if you can establish a run game, it makes life easier for what you're trying to do in the pass game. The problem is I think Matt Nagy is a detriment to the run game. And I think you saw mostly the run game do well because Bill Lazor was calling plays. And
right.
And that's kind of what he was brought in for, is to improve the run game. And he did. And that's my concern, is with Matt Nagy taking the play calling back, that he's going to forget that you can call run plays.
Yeah, I hear you. I do. I really do. I just really pray that the whole coaching staff, including Nagy, just sees it. I mean, it would be so irresponsible to just turn away from it. I mean, David Montgomery rushed for over 1,000 yards last year?
Yeah, I believe so.
The guy looks very good. Yeah, you can't just steer away from that. But I hear your concern. I definitely do.
And, another concern I have is he hit 1,070 yards last year. So, yeah, 1,000-yard rusher. My other concern is with the offensive game plan is Justin Fields and Andy Dalton are two different types of quarterbacks. And I think to win in this league with this roster, you need to play to the strengths of your players. And listen, I don't think Andy Dalton is a garbage quarterback. I just don't think he's a good quarterback at this point. He's his best years with Cincinnati would be the best years ever for a Bears quarterback.
Yep.
But he's getting a little long in the tooth, and he really struggled the last season in Cincinnati, and the last healthy season in Cincinnati, and he didn't do so well with Dallas Cowboys. But they're two different types of players, and if you're intent on starting Andy Dalton, you need to have a set of plays designed for Andy Dalton to succeed. And if Justin Fields comes in, you're going to have a different set of plays to accentuate him. And I'm not saying you have two different offenses, but you play to the strengths of the different players. So you accentuate it with certain play calling. And I hope that whatever game plan that they put in really takes into account that, because what we've seen from Matt Nagy is Matt Nagy trying to fit players into his system rather than his system evolving based on the players that he has.
Well, look at the way they coached Mitch Trubisky. I mean, we know that his set was limited, but you saw he was better, out of the pocket and rolling. So why didn't we see more of that? Why didn't we see several other things from Matt Nagy that should have been happening during Mitch? We don't know. I mean, remember when getting it like a first down, like 4 yards away was like pulling teeth or doing brain surgery?
Yeah, and more so about not rolling Mitch out is they coached out of him the scramble. And that's when he was at his most effective, when he when he would either he didn't feel confident to throw it in a window, or there was nothing there, he took off and he moved the chains. And I think that was Matt Nagy getting a 50 cal gun and shooting himself squarely in the foot. And that is a Matt Nagy fault. He coached that out of him, and because his system that's not what he wants to do. That, especially when you realize that if it's one thing if you coach that out of a young player that you feel can be a pocket passer, because you can't be a running quarterback in this league and not pass, because they will eat you alive. But if wanting him to stay in the pocket and be able to make the bigger play, I get that. But when you feel that Mitch Trubisky can't be that passer in the league, then, and you're not going to sign him to an extension, why don't you just let him run? Let him pick up some first downs, move the chains a little bit. If nothing else, it improves you on the field position game.
Well, you remember 2018 when Mitch Trubisky was able to use his legs very efficiently?
Yes.
Now, there's a point in 2018 where I think that changed. Do you have any idea what I have in mind?
Go ahead, enlighten us.
Do you remember late in the Vikings game when Mitch Trubisky took that late hit when he was sliding?
Yep.
The hit that caused him to lose 2 games out of his schedule. So he missed the game against the Lions, and then he missed the game against the Giants. That's where I think it all changed, honestly. Because you go back and you watch the games against the Rams, you watch the division clincher against Green Bay, and most importantly, you watch the playoff game against the Eagles. And you look at the games before that, and you saw him pick up a lot of big plays with his legs. And then, further show evidence of that, just not only from a coaching standpoint, but from his standpoint. Do you remember Thanksgiving Day 2019, where Mitch Trubisky had a seemingly wide open first down with his legs, and he kind of stutter-stepped and stopped running, and he was tackled short?
Yep.
I think that hit kind of changed the mentality for both Nagy and Trubisky.
Yeah, it's just disappointing. And going back to the quarterback situation for this year, is Matt needs to be prepared for either quarterback to play, because even if the plan is to have Justin Fields sit, what happens if, God forbid, Andy Dalton breaks a leg?
We're bringing in Nick Foles.
Are you going to bring in Nick Foles? It means that what's going to happen?
Could you imagine? Okay, think about this. Think about this for a second. Let's say Andy Dalton's coming out of a game for whatever reason, and it's at Soldier Field, and the crowd's starting to buzz thinking of Justin Fields, and next thing you see is Nick Foles trotting out there. Could you imagine the reaction from the crowd?
I would feel that, you would see Bears fans making makeshift wings so they could fly over Matt Nagy's car and drop dookies on them.
I could see you just going out on your massive stilts on the field. Blah, blah, blah.
It would be a disaster. You would just see livid Bears fans. And the other day I briefly talked with Lester Wolfong from he does I think the fan-sided Bears page. Here's my thinking with the Bears quarterback situation. I don't want anybody on this team handed any position, period. The Bears quarterback situation should be an open competition. I don't want them to baby Justin Fields along, but I don't want anybody to be handed anything. That quarterback position should be wide open. I mean, hell, let Nick Foles compete too. If Nick Foles comes out and, lights it on fire in training camp and preseason, let him compete. But really, it should be a competition of who is better, Andy Dalton or Justin Fields. And we know what the answer is going to be in a couple of years. But if nothing else, I think it makes Andy Dalton better that if he wins that competition rather than the way that they're doing it. You know what? Andy's a good guy, and he's going to start this year, but Justin's our quarterback next year. Like, I think that creates a resentment with Andy Dalton. But if you have him compete and he wins that competition, that sends a message to teams that are looking at Andy Dalton going, all right, he won out that competition, and I think you're going to get a better performance. And it gives your young quarterback saying, hey, we are giving you the opportunity. You've got to earn it. Work hard, earn it. Nobody's getting anything handed to them this season, period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't envision Nick Foles outplaying anybody this year.
That's not happening. That's period. Not happening.
If Nick Foles is even still on the roster.
What are the odds that they put him on the practice squad?
Could you imagine?
Nick Foles, practice squad quarterback?
I mean, can they, with the money he's making, can they do that? I don't know how that works, honestly.
They changed the rules last year, and I think they're keeping the same rules for this year, which I like, that you could have a veteran on there. Squad. Let's see. Practice squad rules. The league expanded to allow clubs to carry 16 practice squad members. With each practice squad, teams will also be able to carry vested veterans or players with 4 or more years of accrued experience.
So Nick Foles would qualify.
Yes. So you can have up to 4 players with no more than 2. Him and Tyler Bray can duke it out for practice squad. Yeah, so you can carry up to 6 players will be eligible for the practice squad regardless of how many seasons they've accrued in the NFL. So the Bears really could put him on the practice squad.
Well, the question is, how does that affect their cap?
I don't know.
I mean, it's guaranteed money. You have to pay him.
Yeah.
So what good does sending him to the practice squad even do if you still got to pay him?
I don't know. I think this is a good question. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to go back really quick to the whole competition thing. Just in terms of skill and what they can do, I can't envision Andy Dalton even being the veteran dominating over Justin Fields. I mean, I hope not. If Andy Dalton really dominates over Justin Fields, I might worry a little bit. But I don't know. I'm torn. Honestly, I'm very torn. On one hand, the whole sitting behind the veteran, it's been done many times. It makes sense. I get it. But if Justin Fields comes as advertised, and he really is who he is, then why can't he be what he is right off the bat? Or what advantage do the Bears have, really, by starting Andy Dalton? We know who Andy Dalton is.
My thing is let them have an open competition because, Justin Fields is the future. But if we want to win as many games as we can, and if Andy Dalton at this point in his career is able to navigate an NFL season at a higher level than Justin Fields, then let him ride it out. I don't think Andy Dalton even plays a full 16 games. Then Justin Fields comes in. I just don't want to anoint anybody. And I also, if you feel Justin Fields isn't ready to be thrown to the Wolves, and you want to throw Andy Dalton to the Wolves, I honestly think part of the starting Andy Dalton thing is, well, first of all, they didn't know if they were going to be able to get a quarterback. I don't think anybody realistically thought that they could get one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this draft.
No, it felt like a pipe dream. And we've even said on the show it felt like a pipe dream.
Yeah, and it was everything played out. I mean, it was like a perfect storm. You saw Carolina pass on a quarterback. You saw the Broncos pass on a quarterback. You saw the Cowboys trade with the Eagles to go ahead of the Giants. Because, listen, the Giants, had they not gotten leapfrogged by the Eagles, the report is they would have stayed pat and not traded back because but the Eagles drafted the wide receiver that they wanted. And when they didn't get that player, they were like, you know what, we're just going back. We'll pick up at first next year. But they wouldn't have traded back had the Eagles not leapfrogged them. So that, at that point then, the Cowboys apparently weren't going to trade with the Bears because they didn't want to move back that far. That's the rumors that I'm hearing from. I have a good friend that's, he's a diehard Cowboys fan and into all those message boards. And the what they're saying there is that the Cowboys didn't want to move all the way back to 20. So, the Bears may not have been able to get Justin Fields had the Eagles not traded with the Cowboys and got drafted that wide receiver. Because Justin Fields, the Vikings already said they would have taken Justin Fields. So, the Bears would have missed out. So, I mean, in getting an Andy Dalton, it fits the mold of what Ryan Pace has done. He's got a veteran to shore up a position of need. I mean, not saying that's, it's Andy Dalton is a problem, solves the problem, but it's way better than going into the season with absolutely having to draft a quarterback or Nick Foles.
Yeah, because you lost Mitch Trubisky and you needed to fill in somebody, either the draft or a free agent. And with the uncertainty, you had to go out and make a move. Now, we were very critical at the time of the move. And, I'm not going to back down on our criticism of it because at the time it looked like their solution. And if things didn't play out as well as they did for the Bears, it might have remained their solution. I mean, really, everything in this draft came together for the Bears. One little difference in either spot, and we might not be talking about Justin Fields in a Bears uniform. It might not. We wouldn't be. We flat out wouldn't be. Everything had to come together the way it did, and it did. But, when they got Andy Dalton, the feeling was, well, we were hoping we could make a big deal for Russell Wilson. We were hoping that maybe we could look at one of the other options. I was higher on the potential of a Tyrod Taylor, honestly, than modern form Andy Dalton. Or you go another route. There were the rumors that the Bears were closing in on Carson Wentz, and that didn't happen. So there were so many different routes at the quarterback position has rumored to go, has gone, and has ended up. I mean, it was just a little over a week ago when we thought that our hopes solely relied on Andy Dalton in 2021. Now all of a sudden we have our franchise quarterback. It's really amazing the course that the Bears, this whole story has been so wild ever since the offseason started. We had a feeling Mitch wasn't coming back. His last pass as a Bear was going to be that epic doesn't really count catch by Jimmy Graham in the playoff game where he just kind of caught it and waddled his way back to the clubhouse. Then all the rumors started, and then you think, oh, maybe we could get this, and this. Oh, we wound up with Andy Dalton. Then we wound up with the draft. It has been such a wild ride. But regardless of the wild ride is, you're going to have to make some decisions for week one. And it's going to be very interesting to watch how this all plays out. It's going to be a hell lot more interesting than watching the quarterback battle of Andy Dalton and Mitch Trubisky, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and here's another thought with the Andy Dalton situation is this offensive line is going to be a work in progress. I think your interior set with Mustapher, James Daniels, and Whitey Coathair.
Whitey Coathair.
That still makes me laugh. Whitey Coathair.
Whitey Coathair.
Wani, yeah, with the Whitey Coathair. But I think your interior set, and it's obvious that you're going to have difference of the offensive tackles from the beginning of last season because you cut both of them, your starting tackles last year. And you're going to have a rookie on one side, and then the other side is going to have a guy who probably should be a backup. Or if Larry Barome wins out, which is a possibility, he could very well win that right side, then you have a late round rookie starting on the other side. You would have two rookie bookend tackles, which is a possibility could happen. Do you want to put the future franchise quarterback behind that offensive line to start the season?
I'd be nervous.
I would be nervous. If you put Andy Dalton back there, this is not a knock on Andy Dalton, but if Andy Dalton gets beat up, I don't care. Like, it's not going to cause me to lose any sleep. And I'm not
that completely out of context.
Yeah, not to be a jerk. If Andy Dalton is running for his life, it's like Andy Dalton could get sacked 8 times, and you know what? He could be like, I have enough. I'll retire with my millions of dollars and my beautiful wife and my great family and hang it up, and it's okay. But Justin Fields is the future franchise quarterback of our team. You cannot put him behind that line to get destroyed. Now, that line will probably improve. By mid-season, you should know exactly what they are, and if they're solid enough, then you're like, okay, I'm not going to get my quarterback murdered. Then once Andy Dalton, if he plays like crap, then probably after their bye week, you go, all right, Andy, it's time to hit the old dusty trail, hit the bench. We're putting in Justin. I think there's an element of that is you don't want to get your young quarterback killed, and Andy Dalton is a gun for hire on a 1-year deal, and it does not impact the long-term health of your franchise if Andy Dalton gets hurt.
I mean, it's a good point. It is a good point because you start Andy Dalton a few games, it could give you time to figure out how your offensive line is going to work, and if it does work at all. I think that's a very valid point. I do. I can't really argue that. One could say they don't care, they just want to see Fields play, and okay, I can understand that too, but yeah, definitely. I mean, think about it. If you start Andy Dalton first 3-4 games, and let's say you're 4 games in and you're 2-2, and the offensive line looks pretty good. You're 2-2. And Andy Dalton is playing, at best, adequate. Is there a moment in time where you say, we got to get in our flashy new young toy, or do you think they're just going to ride with Andy Dalton as long as they possibly can until they have to bring in Justin Fields, assuming that Andy Dalton is indeed the guy to start the season?
Andy Dalton is going to be the guy, I think, barring an injury. I think Andy Dalton is the guy, and if the Bears are okay, I mean, not great, I don't think they're going to be great, as long as they're not a train wreck. And as long as Andy Dalton is playing, okay, then I don't think you're going to see Justin Fields, at least for the first half of the season. Like I said, once we have the official schedule and we know where the bye week lies,
it's coming out in a few days.
Yeah, the bye week is going to be my determination. If they have an early bye, it's going to be tough for me to predict seeing Justin Fields on the field this season, barring an injury. If that bye week comes, is a late, mid to later bye week, if it's like week 9, 10, 11, 12, then there's a good chance you might see Justin Fields, because I don't think they're going to, unless they have to, I don't think they're going to throw him in with a week of preparation. I think they're going to want 2 weeks before they throw him in. That's kind of been what they do.
I really hope their bye week isn't like one of those week 4 bye weeks that are super early. I hope it's around mid-season. I think that would be most ideal.
I mean, the NFL should really, put the bye weeks, lump them in a closer amount of time. Having those bye weeks really early sucks. It really does, because there's teams, it's, they need to heal up, get right. It really hurts some teams having the bye week super early. But for the Bears, honestly,
sure.
I think there is just a lot of factors that go into it, and I think their best case scenario is Andy Dalton is competent enough and their team is okay enough that they can ride Andy out through the year and literally do what the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And I think that's their goal, because this, not for nothing, is everything this team does is stolen from an idea of what the Eagles did, what the Kansas City Chiefs did, or what the New Orleans Saints have done. Because these are not great thinkers. They are roadmap followers. And that is, that's what the Kansas City Chiefs did. So they're going to follow that playbook. They've even said they're following that playbook. And that's what we're going to see. And they might have their hand forced. If Andy Dalton is injured, are you going to Nick Foles? I'm making a face. You can't see it, but I'm making a face. And I don't think that happens. If Andy Dalton is terrible, how do you justify not going to Justin Fields? So they're praying they can get the best out of Andy Dalton I mean, for Andy Dalton's sake, I hope they get the best out of Andy Dalton because, I don't have any bad feelings to Andy Dalton. Me being upset about them.
No, nobody should.
Yeah, me being upset that they signed Andy Dalton has nothing to do with Andy Dalton. It has everything to do with Ryan Pace.
Right.
So I really want the best for Andy Dalton. I hope that his best case scenario, I think I've said it before, is going to be following the route of probably Fitzmagic, where he comes in for 2 years and is a bridge quarterback for a franchise and then moves on. It's at this point in his career, I don't think he's going to get an opportunity to be guaranteed a starting spot anymore. It's going to be competition. And that, I think, is there's nothing wrong with that. Fitzmagic has made a lot of money doing that. And he's, it's no pressure on him. It's everybody goes, all right, well, if we have to start Fitzmagic, then maybe we win, maybe we don't. And if he loses his starting job to a young quarterback, you know what? He's making millions of dollars to ride the bench, and he's just going to have fun with it. And I think Andy Dalton needs to adopt that mentality. And I think if he does, he could very well play another 6-7 years probably in this league.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think Andy Dalton is a dumb guy. I think he knows exactly what kind of position he's in. And that's the kind of other comforting thing we have going for the Bears is if you're going to have a veteran who's way past his best days, who, isn't going to put up the numbers nearly like he did in his prime, and he hasn't been in his prime for a good 4 or 5 years, at least you have a guy who has football smarts. He's not just a free-throwing, yee-haw, whoop-de-doo kind of guy. Like, even if he can't perform at his top game, he's not going to play it dumb on the field, if that makes sense.
And I just messaged Brad Spielberger, who we had on as a guest a few weeks ago from Over the Cap, about the situation with Nick Foles potentially going to practice squad. And he said won't happen because the Bears would have to cut him and then sign him to the practice squad. And the Bears aren't going to do that because it's going to hurt them on their salary cap, and he wouldn't sign with the salary cap.
I thought there had to be something with that. Because if you're making guaranteed money, how can you just go down to the practice squad? It's not like baseball where you have options.
Yeah, so the Bears would have to cut him and then sign him to the practice squad, and he would not do that. That he's right in that. So, yeah, we're looking at probably, geez Louise, the best case scenario is if a team loses a quarterback, probably a backup quarterback, in the preseason, maybe we could be like, hey, we got Nick Foles. We'll take a 7th rounder. Just take him off our hands.
Yeah, I mean, look around the league right now. I mean, is there anyone really that you would think, hey, we need a veteran quarterback of some point, whether to be a starter or a backup? You look at some of the young upcoming teams that are rebuilding. I mean, the Jets just drafted their starting quarterback of the future. I don't know what their backup plans are. Joe Flacco was on the team last year. I don't know if he's under contract or not. I think so.
Joe Flacco went with the Eagles.
Did he?
Yeah.
Boy, is he talk about a guy who's bounced around the past few years.
Yeah. So Joe Flacco was the reason that I think all Bears fans hoped that the Eagles on draft day would trade for Nick Foles, and they signed Joe Flacco. So it kind of made that that's not going to happen.
Well, I'm looking right now at the R-Lads depth chart for the New York Jets. Zach Wilson is currently number 1 on the list, followed by James Morgan and Mike White. So,
yeah,
hey, you want a veteran quarterback, Jets? Huh? Like a veteran quarterback that people actually know who he is? Huh? He's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's been to the Pro Bowl. Huh? Huh?
Oh, Nick Foles, man.
You know, I'm going to shamefully admit it. When they brought in Nick Foles last year, I was actually semi-optimistic about it.
I
I
was
know
too.
it makes me look dumb, but I saw a lot of things that Nick Foles has done in his career. I'm like, the guy gets the ball out really fast. We've seen him play very big in very big games, a la Super Bowl. And I get it, he was benched in 2017, or no, 2018. No, 2019. One of those years. It was at Jacksonville he got benched, I believe, wasn't it? Because they signed him after he was with Philly.
I think he got injured and they benched him, but he might have gotten benched some point as well. He got injured though.
Wasn't playing well with Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. He wasn't playing well with Jacksonville, regardless if he got injured or not. But I thought, okay, Jacksonville sucks, and Matt Nagy's worked with Nick Foles before, and maybe they could find that Philly magic. And I was never expecting great or even very good. I was expecting
Competent.
Yes. I know he's not mobile. Everybody knows that. I know he doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but you watch what he did with Philly in his good days, whether the Pro Bowl in 2013 or the Super Bowl in 2017, and you saw some good things. And even though Nick Foles didn't play great against the Bears in the playoff game, you saw in big moments where he was able to get the ball out quickly. And that was a really great asset I loved with him. I'm like, okay, well, if he's not going to use his speed with his legs, if he could get the ball out quickly, that helps not having the speed. It kind of, I wouldn't say it substitutes it, but it kind of helps your situation. So, yeah, I expected competent. I thought, okay, if he could be solid enough and the defense plays well, you can win with Nick Foles. But, boy, I mean, it was a lot on Nick Foles and a number on Matt Nagy. It was a team effort, but the offense with Nick Foles was just awful. Yeah, you had a nice comeback win against the Falcons, but choking is what they do. You had a nice win against Tom Brady because Tom Brady can't seem to beat Nick Foles. But other than that, you saw that offense really, really struggle with Nick Foles.
And we have a report from SiriusXM NFL reporter Adam Kaplan, who noted that the Bears had sought to trade Nick Foles, but failed to find a taker. They reached out to Foles' former team, the Eagles, but they weren't interested. They fully guaranteed his $8 million back in March. He's on the football team. He's not moving. They tried to trade him to Philly and other teams. Nobody wanted him. He's still there. He'll back up Dalton this season.
Well, there you go.
So,
maybe he'll be like Mark Sanchez in 2017.
Old butt fumble.
Well, remember, he was on the team, but he didn't play a single snap.
Oh, I don't foresee a situation where Nick Foles takes a snap in this season.
Well, the only way I see it would be very unfortunate circumstances with injuries, but let's hope not. I mean, it's either going to be Andy Dalton or Justin. If they're healthy, it's going to be either Andy Dalton or Justin Fields playing. Nick Foles he's going to be carrying the clipboard. But, if Nick Foles can provide any sort of good information to Justin Fields, we'll take anything that comes from Nick Foles at this point, even if it's clipboard master. Very expensive one.
So the Jets Wire, which is part of the USA Today, they're advocating for the Jets trading for Nick Foles for what that's worth. They said Joe Douglas knows Foles well. The veteran signal caller stepped in for Carson Wentz and led the Eagles to a Lombardi Trophy in 2017, earning Super Bowl MVP honors and giving Douglas his third ring as an NFL executive. That familiarity could land him in New York as the Jets are in need of a veteran in their quarterback's room. Zach Wilson needs a mentor. Sam Darnold had Josh McCown, and although things did not work out for Darnold in New York, The time he spent around McCown played a major role in his maturation as a professional athlete. Foles could be just as valuable for Wilson as he learns to navigate the NFL and what it takes to be a successful quarterback in the league. That would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah, and, having Nick Foles on the team is one thing, but it's the fact that he's taking up $6.666 million cap hit on your team. If he was making 2, 3, maybe even 4 million, whatever. And I know it may seem picky to go, 6.66 million or whatever of cap, whatever. That all adds up.
It does. It really does, especially when you look at how the Bears have the second least amount of salary cap space currently. They are like $500,000 under the cap. They don't have a lot of wiggle room, so every bit helps.
Right.
But my thing is that this is a weird year, and their cap situation gets better next year. Now the focus is going to have to be that you hope you have your franchise quarterback. And now it's to build the team around him to win during his cheap years before you have to pay him $1 bajillion.
Right.
So that's my one knock on sitting him for a year is,
right.
If you do, it's a year less of experience before you're turning the team over to him and hoping you can win with a young quarterback.
Yeah, no. I mean, I get it. I do.
Was there a Bears topic you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, really quick. Have you heard the reports about the whole Arlington Heights thing?
I have, and I got berated on. It's funny. I had a lot of traffic on a comment I made to a Greg Gabriel post about it, where I felt that Rosemont would be a better option. And a lot of people agreed and a lot of people disagreed.
Well, my whole thing on that is it's not as much the location for me. And I get it makes sense. You're going to be demolishing Arlington Racetrack, which sad to see it go. It's a really nice place, but it's a lot of land. And it makes sense that if that's going to be going, then a big sports complex would make sense. At the end of the day, really, I just want a much better stadium than Soldier Field. I mean, again, it's the smallest capacity stadium for the city of Chicago. It's a pain in the ass for most people to get to. It's very bare bones when it comes to modern stadiums. Look at what the Vikings just built. Look at Lucas Oil Stadium. Look at Ford Field. That was built, early 2000s?
Yeah.
Whenever that was built. I mean, those are nice, modern facilities. I would love to see the Bears play at one of those types of stadiums. And you know what? I don't really care anymore about the Bear weather.
I want a dome.
If you're going to play in a dome and you're winning, who the fuck cares about Bear weather? Honestly.
Yeah, there is no reason to have an outdoor football stadium in Chicago. It's dumb. It honestly, if you think about it, it costs your team more money because everybody comes in bundled up. No, you sell less beer, you sell less, shirts and things, because what's the point of buying a shirt at the game because you can't wear it there because you're already wearing like 8 coats. If you have a seated or a heated stadium with a dome, more people will buy beer, more people will buy food, More people will buy stuff. It financially makes sense.
And here's another question too, and this is not me trying to criticize fans. This is just an honest question. Do people, particularly Bears fans, do you really enjoy being on the steep upper deck of Soldier Field, freezing your ass off with the snow and the cold wind off the lake? Like, do you really enjoy that?
No, and I would actually honestly like to see a retractable dome, like
Yes.
like that would be cool, because you know what? In the first part of the season, it's awesome. It's nice. You know, when you have those, like a game in October when the weather's still nice, ooh, it's actually nice to be outside. But then when you hit those November, December games and they start getting real cold or rainy, is close it up. And that would be awesome. And, you know, as much as, I just don't see, I think the Arlington Heights situation is a pipe dream that the mayor of Arlington Heights is floating. I don't see it happening.
I agree. I don't see it happening either. And I know the lease is through 2020 or 2033, and that sure there's legal ways to get out of it, but I just don't see it happening. I really don't.
I don't. When has an NFL team broke a lease? I don't think the NFL allows you to. So while I guess you could break it and then pay money.
Yeah, there's lawyers to take care of all that crap. They'd find some.
But
sort
I
of
don't think the
loophole.
NFL allows you to. I think the NFL doesn't. I think that's part of their thing, that you have a lease, you honor it. So the Bears are in Chicago for at least 12 more years. And here's the thing. Does the McCaskey family have the war chest to build a new stadium from scratch?
No, I don't believe they would. I mean, they're too proud of the spaceship that Ted Phillips landed in Soldier Field.
I think the best case scenario is you're going to see the city of Chicago work with the Bears organization to make improvements.
The question is, what can you improve? There isn't really much room to add seating if you want to host the Super Bowl. There's no way you can put a retractable roof on that place. I mean, unless you build a giant ring around it and you put the retractable roof on that, but I don't see how that would. I mean, modern engineering can do a lot of things, but it would be really just weird to do.
They're going to put AstroTurf. I think that's going to be part of the compromise. Is there?
Well, okay.
I think that's about as best as you're going to get.
Okay. Well, I mean, here's the question though: if they put an AstroTurf, what about all the other sports that play there, like the Chicago Fire? I mean, I don't know what MLS. I know nothing about soccer, so
I don't know.
Has soccer ever been played on AstroTurf?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because the Chicago Fire play there now.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, they moved from, what was it, Toyota Park, whatever it was called?
SeatGeek Stadium.
Is that what it's called now?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't always SeatGeek Stadium, but whatever it was before, I've been there. It's actually very nice. But no, the last 2 seasons, Soldier Field is their home. That's their permanent home now.
Huh. It seems like a big stadium for soccer.
It is a big stadium for soccer. Why they moved, I don't know. Maybe they liked the accessibility of Soldier Field. Maybe they just wanted to be downtown. Maybe they just wanted a bigger place despite their stadium seemingly adequate enough. I mean, it was a really nice stadium. I've been there. It's very nice. And it's, I mean, it doesn't matter. Capacity doesn't matter now because you can only have so many people in the stands with the pandemic, but
I never understood wanting to play in a stadium that's too big for your team. It's like the Wolves play at Rosemont at the Rosemont Stadium, and that's way too big for an AHL team. And it feels like when you're on the first floor, you're like, all right, there's a lot of people. But if you ever get the upper deck tickets and you go up there, you have an entire section to yourself.
Believe me, I've sat up there many times. Yes.
And you know, like if my wife's mom comes into town or stuff and there's like a bunch of us going, I'm like, what is the point of paying a ton of money to go, you know, for an AHL game to go sit on the first level when we're going to be up and about, and I've got a kid that just wants to run around and, you know, find the wolf and whatnot. So I'm just like, let's just get the cheapest seats, and we have literally an entire section to ourselves. You know, you go.
It's kind of the same way with the Diamondbacks. That stadium's way too big for them.
Yeah, like go to an Ice Hogs game, and it is packed. There's no empty seats. It is, you know, it makes it feel like, hey, this is awesome. You know, like I would much rather play in a packed stadium than a giant stadium, to be honest, personally. And so, like, that's the thing with, if the Fire are playing at Soldier Field, man, that's a big stadium for an MLS team.
Yeah, not for the NFL by any means.
No.
Jokingly small, but yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what they draw in normal times, because I believe they announced the move like towards the end of summer of 2019. So obviously the next season would have been 2020, and that's when the pandemic happened. And now they're obviously playing again, but they're only allowing so many people there. So when they're able to have full capacity at every stadium, no matter what the sporting event, I'm very curious to see what the crowds at Soldier Field look like. Because, you know, I don't follow the Fire much. And, you know, I assume for MLS standards, they have a pretty good following. But you compare that to the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, I don't think it comes even remotely close.
So I'm pulling up the Chicago Fire attendance numbers from their team site. In 2018, they averaged 14,800 people per game, and in 2019, they averaged 12,324.
So, question: what's the capacity of SeatGeek Stadium, or whatever the crap they call that place? Because even though I've been there, I couldn't tell you what the seating capacity is. It's been a few years.
20,000.
So they're not quite selling out on average, but they're filling up more than half.
They're filling up, yeah. So they're, you know, on average, let's just go 17. It's like 85% full, which I think is not bad. And
no, it's not bad.
And
at
I
all.
confirmed it is SeatGeek Stadium.
Okay, yeah.
But
so
now
Field.
It's the home of the Chicago Red Stars of the women's soccer league, which
that's right, they play there. That's right. I couldn't remember where they played.
So that seems like it's a way too big of a stadium for that. Man, but I like Soldier Field capacity is
a little over 60,000.
61,500. So
there you go.
And then if you go by the last season you were allowed to have fans, you're at 20% capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any way how Chicago Fire is going to sell out Soldier Field. And, you know, maybe they only make certain areas of Soldier Field available. I've seen a few pictures of the scattered people around the stadium. I don't know if people are all the way up. I've only seen like the very lower bowl of it, so I don't really know. But I wonder if, like, okay, normal time, let's say you sell the first two decks and the areas behind the goals. You know, maybe they only sell the first few sections of the upper deck, you know, the one that's really steep, and they don't have people sitting all the way at the top. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm curious to see.
Yeah. So apparently, according to the Guardian, the Chicago Fire are planning to pay $60 million to play at Soldier Field.
That's a lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money. Wow. The last time there was attendance, the Fire were one of the worst teams as far as attendance goes in the MLS.
Really?
Yes.
Hmm.
So I'm looking. MLS's best attended teams, the Atlanta United and the Seattle Sounders, play in NFL venues and draw excess of 40,000 fans a game.
So Seattle, I take it they play at whatever they just renamed it now.
Yeah, where the Seahawks play.
Right. Which you could see the lines on that field. So which that is AstroTurf.
Yeah.
So maybe that would work.
I don't know, but that's wild. But going back to it is, I would personally hate for the Bears to move outside the city, being a city liver. I see drawbacks to moving to anywhere in the suburbs. But whatever it comes down to is they need a place for people to tailgate, and they need a dome stadium, and they need a new stadium.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if the Bears, as the McCaskey family, have the war chest to build a from scratch stadium, including buying the land. Like, they'd have to buy that land from Churchill Downs.
Right. It's a lot of land. It's like 326 acres.
Yeah. I can't imagine what that would cost. To buy. I can't imagine. So that you'd have to buy that basically that land from 326 acres of land from Churchill Downs, then build an NFL stadium on it. And I think, what did I read the average NFL stadium cost now? Average.
Is it in the billions?
I think it's like $1 billion.
Yeah. It's got to be. With the way they're building these facilities, the elegance that they are, the engineering, all the amenities, it's got to be in the billions.
Let's see. SoFi Stadium cost $4.9 billion. Allegiant Stadium cost $1.9 billion. MetLife Stadium cost $1.7 billion. Mercedes-Benz Stadium cost $1.6.
And that one opens like a camera lens.
Yeah, so let's see. Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders has a capacity of 65,000 and it's $1.9 billion. Arrowhead cost $43 million, but that was opened in 1972. AT&T Stadium, where the Cowboys play, has a capacity of 80,000 and costs $1.3 billion. The Bears are the smallest stadium in the NFL, and it cost $600 million.
In 2002, 2003 money.
Yes. Let's see. What's funny is Lambeau Field is 81,000 capacity and opened in 1967 and didn't cost $960,000.
And they've added on quite a bit to Lambeau Field since.
Yeah, so let's see. Lucas Oil cost $720 million, but that was 2008. Yeah, honestly, let's see. The stadium the Vikings play in, $1.1 billion. You know what's crazy? That stadium, the U.S. Bank Stadium, is only 66,000 capacity. Why in the world, if you're opening a brand new stadium, wouldn't you have it be bigger?
I thought it was at least 70. I guess not.
According to stadiumsofprofootball.com. Yeah. But so they're looking to spend probably at least $1 billion plus whatever it costs to buy that land. I just don't. Where do they get that money? I mean, I know the NFL floats you loans, but are the Bears going to do that?
No, and I mean, even if they were to do it, it would take years to get that all together. It's not like, oh, here's a new stadium. Even if they agree to it, we'd still be playing at Soldier Field probably for another 4 or 5 years, even if they got that together.
Well, I mean, it would be they'd play there. It would be the 2034 season be the first year that they could play in it. So
well, I'm assuming if they were able to get out of their lease.
Oh, I'm not even making. I don't make that assumption at all. I think they would have 10. They have, I think, take about 4 years to build that stadium. So you would have to buy the land now, and then make it known that you're going to do it. Sit on that land for a decade, and then build your stadium. I just don't see it happening.
Sit on that land. They're literally going to hire Ted Phillips to just go out there with like a spear, and anyone who tries to walk on it, he goes, "No, back away. Our land, back away."
But literally, that's what they'd have to do is buy that 326 acres and then just leave it barren for a decade. And then be like, let's start building our stadium. Unless they wanted to build the stadium and then be like, won't, we can't play in here until 2034. That it is. I think it's a pipe dream. I don't think that's happening.
No, I don't see it happening either.
But before we move to baseball, I just want to quickly say a friend of mine and a listener to our show, Alex, got married over the weekend. Congratulations, Alex. I know he had to postpone his wedding because of pandemic-y things. So congratulations. You got yourself a wonderful lady, and can't wait to see you guys to wish you congratulations in person.
Congratulations, buddy.
All right. Let's move on to baseball, where I think we have complaints on both sides of towns for completely different reasons.
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
I want to talk White Sox first.
Sure.
This is a team that has, as last I checked, was best in baseball in run differential and team ERA. This is a team that's without two of their best players due to devastating injuries, and they're still mashing the ball and pitching lights out with their starting rotation. And once the bullpen gets into gear, they are on paper have one of the best bullpens in baseball. This is a team that should be on autopilot, wrecking shop, and they have a bungling drunkard manager.
Yeah, the whole not knowing the rule thing in Cincinnati was brutal. It obviously led to a 1-0 loss, but I still look at the whole situation and say, this team is so dang talented. They're probably just going to win in spite of it, and they have been. They just swept the Royals. They swept them good. The pitching continues to be lights out. They continue to score timely runs. I mean, just imagine when their two superstars get healthy again.
Next year.
Honestly, it almost feels like La Russa is going to fall into another championship here because the team he has is so dang talented. So, as frustrating as it is, they're still winning. So, at least they got that going for them, and that's kind of the most important thing.
And that's the thing, is this team is so good that they're winning despite him. And just imagine if you had a manager that was good in 2021. Imagine what they could do with this team. You look at La Russa, and he's been everything since the day the rumors broke that he could be the rumors broke that he had interviewed for the job. From that moment, it has been a complete joke. Everything involved.
Yeah.
There has not been, from the what the hell are the White Sox doing to this is clearly the ownership shoving this in the GM's throat, to there's no way they're going to hire him. This is to they did hire him, to the DUI episode where that just got swept under the rug by the team and nobody cared. So either Rick Hahn knew and couldn't do anything about it, or they didn't know that he had a DUI before he got hired. They have to know he's a drunk because he just has a history of being a drunk. And now he's mismanaging with clinging to veteran players that can't play. Lurie Garcia, Nick Williams. He's supposed to be great at managing.
Jake Lamb.
Yeah, Jake Lamb. Supposed to be great at managing pitchers. He has left pitchers in there too long. Cough, Lucas Giolito. And then the not knowing the rules. That is embarrassing. Not only did he not know the rules, the press conference afterwards was embarrassing.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And he said, well, clearly you know the rules better than I do. It's like, really, dude? You're going to be snarky and arrogant when you openly admitted you didn't know the rules and it cost you a game? Like, really?
It's just embarrassing. And you look at what the team is doing. It's overshadowing what this team is doing. Carlos Rodon was supposed to be your number 5 starter. At this point in the season, he's 5-0 with a 0.58 ERA. 0.58 ERA. He just pitched another game, 6 innings, 0 earned runs. He is dealing. This is the guy that the White Sox thought they had drafted. And we were like, never going to happen. And it took them cutting him and bringing him back to watching him pitch great. Dylan Cease just pitched a gem where he gave up 1 hit to the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds, who have been mashing the baseball. And
he had 3 hits too.
He had 3 hits himself. He got 3 hits, and he only gave up 1 hit. That's really impressive. Dallas Keuchel, against the same Cincinnati Reds, gave up 2 hits and no earned runs the next day. Lance Lynn has a 1.52 ERA. Lucas Giolito's finally starting to get back on track and just had a 5-inning stint with only 1 run. And then you look at the offense. Tim Anderson batting .296, Madrigal .301, Moncada respectable .261, Mercedes is still batting over .360. Vaughn has picked up his batting average to .275. This is without having Luis Robert, and your 2 of your best players are out with probably for the season with their injuries. And you have last year's MVP only batting .220, and your highest paid.
And he's going to pick it up.
He's going to pick it up. And the highest paid free agent your team has ever signed is only batting .113. Just imagine when those 2 guys actually start hitting, you are going to have a juggernaut team, despite having a drunken Rube as your general manager, or as your head or your manager. Tony La Russa used to be a very smart baseball man, but we've said it before, we say it again, and it's not just for athletes, is time catches up to everybody. And Tony La Russa has no business being the team's manager at this point. And personally, there's no way he's going to get fired. My best hope
No, Jerry's not going to fire.
My best hope is that at the end of the season, everybody sits down and they let him say he's stepping away from the game to focus on his family at his age, and then they go out and find a real manager.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where they are at the end of the year. Are they World Series champions? Are they pennant champions? They very well could be. But either way, you're probably going to have that conversation. At least you're going to have to try to have that conversation with Jerry. Now, if they win a World Series, Jerry might say, nope, we just won a World Series. We got to keep him, and whatever Jerry says goes. But they'll definitely probably have that conversation going forward. Because I still think this team is winning the pennant. I really do.
This team is really good. This team is really good. And, just imagine if Jerry would have, instead of shoving a drunken Rube as the manager, would have been like, you know what? Here's a few more $1 million. Bulletproof this roster. If they would have bulletproofed that roster, imagine how much better they could be in right now instead of having to rely on Lurie Garcia and Jake Lamb. You could have gotten Michael Brantley or somebody. It just puts you in a much, much better place, and they're still in a really good place.
Yeah, and take advantage this year. Take advantage, because this isn't me trying to downplay the White Sox by any means. Don't take it as that. But the American League isn't great. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's just mind-numbing. But I mean, I'm happy for the White Sox. They do look really good. And the team's having fun. I just hope they can keep this up, and I think they should. I honestly don't see anybody in this division being able to compete when the end of the season comes.
No. The Indians' offense is terrible. The Royals are already falling back down to earth. The Tigers are terrible, and the Twins are terrible. I mean, honestly, let's say the White Sox, if they ended up winning if they ended up winning like 87 games, 88 games, it's probably enough to win the division.
I was listening to a baseball show on Sirius XM, and they were talking about how, the Twins are starting to heat up. Their bats are starting to heat up. And I'm like, that team is 7 behind the White Sox right now when the White Sox were playing them not at their best. Like, they're not catching up to the White Sox. Detroit is garbagey. Like, they're terrible. I don't think Minnesota's that good. Kansas City was doing well, but, I mean, look what the White Sox just did to them. The White Sox...
And I mean, the series before that, too, the Indians beat them up, too. So they're coming back down to earth.
Yeah, Cleveland can't win. They might have the White Sox number. They're not going to keep this up. The White Sox are going to run away with this division. The Angels are garbage. The Rangers are garbage. Seattle's not very good. I think Oakland's going to come back down to earth. I think at the end of the season, Houston probably wins that division. And they're not the same Houston team from a couple years ago.
No. They don't have trash cans in the dugout.
It's how mind-boggling is it that they filed a complaint against the Yankees fans?
Oh, my God.
What giant babies. Baltimore's not good. Surprisingly, Toronto's not good. I don't think the Yankees are very good. The Red Sox, I think, are overachieving. The White Sox very well. I mean, on paper, they should be going to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I'm picking them to win the pennant. If that starting pitching keeps up, nobody's going to beat them.
All right.
I mean,
I want to write down, we're recording this on Mother's Day, 2021. And I'm curious here is, who do you think wins the AL East? at the end of the season?
I think the Yankees are gonna. I mean, they've already kind of waken up. I think they're just gonna keep going.
All right, I'm gonna go with Boston. Let's write this down. Alex and Sean is New York Yankees, Boston. I think we both think the White Sox are gonna win the division. Correct?
Yes.
By
a landslide.
The AL West. Who do you have? It's currently Oakland 2 games up on Houston, 2.5 up on Seattle, 3 up on Texas, and 4.5 on the Angels.
It's not going to be the Angels. It's not going to be Texas. It's not going to be Seattle. If the Astros were healthier, I'd say that's a slam dunk. And I don't think the A's are that great, but they always find a way.
So you're going to Oakland?
So I'm just going to go Oakland.
All right. NL East. Current standings. The Mets are winning the division. They're 1 game ahead of the Phillies, 1.5 games ahead of Atlanta, 3 ahead of Miami, 3.5 ahead of Washington.
I think Atlanta's going to kind of figure things out more consistently and take it. I know the Mets are the shiny team on paper, but they always kind of Mets it up. So until proven otherwise, I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to go with Atlanta. I think they have the most talent.
Atlanta does, and that's been my team all along. I'm starting... I can't go against them. I'm going to say ATL is going to win that division. NL Central. Current standings, St. Louis winning the division, Milwaukee, 2 ahead of Milwaukee, 3.5 ahead of the Cubs, 4 ahead of Cincinnati, 6 against Pittsburgh.
For me, it's between Milwaukee and the Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I know their pitching isn't nearly as good as Milwaukee's right now, but Milwaukee, their star players just keep having setbacks with injuries, and that's going to catch up to you after a while. And when Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are swinging well, that's tough to beat. So I'm going to go St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm going to go St. Louis as well. NL West. Currently, San Francisco is winning the division, 1.5 games ahead of San Diego, 2.5 ahead of the Dodgers, 5 ahead of Arizona, 8 ahead of Colorado.
I think the Dodgers will figure it out. They're in a slump now. They started like 13-3. I think they'll be fine.
I'm gonna go with San Diego Padres. I don't think the Giants are legit, and I think San Diego is legit. I think the Dodgers will finish second, but I'm going with San Diego. Who is your World Series?
Dodgers, White Sox.
All right, I'm going Chicago White Sox. Ooh, man. I'm going Chicago White Sox versus the Atlanta Braves.
Okay.
So I think we both are. I think we're both bullish on the White Sox, which is good.
Yeah, in spite all the crap that's happened to them, the fact that they keep winning is what tells me that I don't think this team's going to stop winning. If they didn't have nearly as good pitching, they'd probably be in trouble. If their division was better, they'd probably be in trouble. But because their starting pitching is just so dominant, and you're still scoring runs, how are you going to beat that? There's going to be ups and downs, sure, in a season, but it's right now to me. It makes the most sense. And my other American League choices would either be the Yankees or the Rays, but that's about it. So if you're the White Sox, take advantage of this year.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be crazy if they win in spite of their drunken rube manager and major injuries to two of their best players.
And that can tell you right there that they're primed for multiple. I know I'm jumping the gun there, but sure gives you confidence, right? We got a long way to go. I know we can't.
Yeah, and honestly, it's going to. You're probably going to lose Rodon because he's going to get. If he keeps this up, he's going to get paid.
Yeah,
and the White Sox don't pay. So, on the other side of town is, I don't even know what to say about the Cubs. They sweep the Dodgers, and granted the Dodgers are struggling, but the Cubs just aren't a very good team.
I will say some nice things about the Cubs, despite my constant anger towards them. And then I'll say some of the things that struggle. I feel like they've adjusted their game a little bit. They're playing more small ball, and I kind of like it. And it's not always going to play, but you had a series where it was cold and the wind was blowing in, but you were able to beat your opponent 5 out of 6 times by putting the ball in play, grinding out at bats. I mean, you watched, they jumped all over Kershaw, and that was incredible. But when they faced
the worst start of Kershaw's Hall of Fame career.
Is that the only time he's had trouble at Wrigley Field? Is that the only time he was beaten by Kyle Hendricks? Was it? Was it? But, you saw them face Walker Buehler, and you saw them face Trevor Bauer. Now, they didn't ambush them, but they wore them out. You got to give them credit for that. You also got to give them credit for their resiliency. They could have easily lost 2 or 3 in those extra inning affairs. You had Baez come up with a 2-run home run with 2 outs. Look at what Matt Duffy is doing, man.
Matt Duffy has been huge for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
And we're facing a situation. Ian Happ is hurt. Nico Horner's hurt. It looks like Jake Marisnick is hurt now.
Jason Hayward's hurt.
I mean, who the hell are we going to put out there? We're going to have to call up Cameron Maben? We're going to have to...
right now...
Ian Miller? I mean, what are you going to do?
Right now, Chris Bryant is your center fielder, probably.
Yeah. Oh, my... When I saw today, when I saw Jake Marisnick pull the hammy, I'm like, oh, God, are you... Because Jake Marisnick has been one of their best bench players. He's come up big. The depth is coming up big, and they're getting hurt. Nico Horner was looking fantastic. Fantastic. And then he collides with Ian Happ. Ian Happ, who's struggled most of this year, finally looks like he was turning a corner. And then he gets hurt. Jason Hayward hasn't done much, but that's still another body you lose.
It's I don't want to complain too much because it's not fair to the White Sox fans who have much bigger players get injured, but they also have an embarrassment of riches as far as hitters. The Cubs should have an embarrassment of riches. They do not. You look at this team, other than Chris Bryant, Rizzo is batting under 230. Hayward's batting under 200. Contreras is batting under 210.
You want to talk about a guy who's really cooled off. Wilson Contreras, man.
Yeah, Contreras is batting 208. Jock Peterson's batting 206. David Bodie's batting 189. And your starting pitching is bleh. Like, you had Hendricks get lit up again today.
Okay, all right. Can I just defend Hendricks really quick today? None of those balls were hit hard. None of them. That was fucking bullshit. For all the other starts he got lit up, yes, that was 100% him. Today, that was fucking bullshit. Okay, go on.
I was hoping your defense would be it was really hard to throw when you were throwing at neon glowing chest plates.
Well, that too. But I mean,
I walked
in the first inning. The four runs, not a single one of those were hit above 90 miles an hour. Not one.
When I turned on the game, I was like, I thought it was a TV thing where they were trying to highlight something, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's Wilson Contreras' catcher's gear.
Blame it on that.
I'll blame that, but he just hasn't had a good season. Period. And
he hasn't.
I have no problem giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. Like today, you give him the benefit of the doubt. None of them were hit hard. It was a lot of bad luck, but the fact is that his ERA is 6.23 at this point.
Yeah, you look at those 2 starts against the Braves and his first start of opening day. That was just flat out not good.
He's just not had a good season so far, and he's your staff ace. Arrieta's coming back from injury, so maybe we'll probably see him soon. Zach Davies did give us a good performance this week against the Pirates. I mean, it is against the Pirates, but
but it's kind of one of those just what the doctor ordered. You face a bad team, you get some length out of you, build your confidence. He needed that.
Oh, absolutely, he needed it, and in the MLB, you can't sell short any team. You go out there and you get your win, and pad your stats and build your confidence, and that's exactly what he did. You just need more. You need more from the starting staff, and I don't know how much blood you can get from the stone.
Right. Yeah.
Like this team is not. I mean, listen. If the Cubs could make the playoffs, you never know, because it's a sprint at that point. And when you look, like, could you sell me a scenario where Kyle Hendricks turns into playoffs Kyle Hendricks and Arrieta finds some fountain of youth magic and Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, and Jock Peterson have just huge numbers? Yeah, I guess you could sell that to me. I mean, it's not a magic bean. It's somewhere in the realm of possibility, but this team is not built for the long haul to get to that point of winning the division.
No. Right now, I'm kind of just looking at what the value of the current players are now and what the future can hold. What could you trade right now? Who are your trade assets, and who are you going to look at the future? I like Nico Horner for the future, and I'm really starting to like Adbert Alzolay. Yeah. You got to give him credit. He's looked legit. The stuff looks good.
He has looked good, and Nico Horner has looked good other than the injury. And as far as your trade pieces, going into the season, you were like, all right, well, is Kyle Hendricks is a trade piece, but his trade value is shot. I think people are already hesitant to trade for a soft throwing pitcher in this day and age.
Even if he pitches well down the stretch, he's not going to have the value of like any sort of guy that throws 95 plus.
And, you're not gonna get four guys that are 54th on the Padres minor league system out of for a Kyle Hendricks. So, and Contreras is a guy we thought we could get something for. And that trade value just really isn't there. Craig Kimbrell still, you've got to think you have some good trade value there. But
he looks good. He's throwing hard and he's getting saves and he's striking dudes out.
Yep. And which is exactly what you want from a closer. And there's going to be a team that's, especially if we keep these divisions close, there's going to be a team that's going to overpay for a closer, and that's exactly what the Cubs need. Now the big question is, Do you trade a Chris Bryant, and what do you get for him?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to all depend on the market when the time comes. I mean, honestly, his value right now is great. He is absolutely mashing. He is looking like an MVP. Even in the loss today, he's gotten on base multiple times and also hit a double. I mean, he's a doubles machine right now, and he's hit a few doubles in the cold weather where in the summer those are going out of the ballpark. So you got to love his value there. Again, it's going to depend on the market, and you know what my dream scenario would be? Trade him for a haul, then just re-sign him next year. Like, you know, that would be pretty sweet. But you know,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though.
Easier said than done.
Is all right. You know, we can measure him on a when is his trade value high versus his trade value not there. But in reality, so we can say his trade value is very high right now because of what he's doing, and he seems to be back to form, and he seems to be healthy. What does that translate to in a package in reality in 2021's baseball, knowing that he is going to be a free agent at the end of the season with Scott Boras as an agent? So whoever signs him or whoever trades for him doesn't have any advantage of them just waiting in the offseason and just signing him. You know, how much does somebody realistically give up for Chris Bryant for half of a season?
Probably something underwhelming that we think, despite the value.
I think that's the case. I think if the Cubs are to trade him, what they're going to get back is going to be not great.
Well, you look at the trends of trades.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. It's going to be underwhelming. You never know. You never know what it'll end up being. Is maybe that seems underwhelming, and then the guy is a miracle and turns out, you know, to be another Arrieta type trade. But you know, it's going to look underwhelming the day it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think the days of Aroldis Chapman for Gleyber Torres are over.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrell. I think he's probably the most likely to bring you something good because closers just are high demand, and there's always a team that's a contender that needs a closer,
especially ones that throw hard.
Yep, that might do a Gleyber Torres type trade, but I don't think Chris Bryant's bringing you a haul. I mean, Darvish didn't bring us a haul.
No, what I will say this: if you know, you can look at Darvish, you can look at Nolan Arenado. You know, the one thing I'll say is Chris Bryant's on an expiring deal, and Darvish and Arenado were making a shit ton of money, and they were traded first and foremost for salary dumps. The purpose of trading Chris Bryant is going to be to get assets back for an expiring contract. I'm not saying that the return won't be underwhelming, because I bet you it will be, but you know, there are different scenarios to keep in mind is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
You know, the end of the second half of this season is going to be rough for Cubs fans.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You're going to hear a lot of trade rumors, and then once the trade deadline happens, I think Craig Kimbrell, you know, it's almost assuredly is gone. I would be shocked if Chris Bryant's not gone. And you know what? That's your dream scenario. Very well likely could happen. It's if the Cubs do want to sign him, then they're going to have just as, whether they trade him or not, they're going to have as good of option to sign him as anybody else. Because he's going to go to the highest bidder. And if it involves him, staying with Chicago, I don't think he's going to turn that down. Especially if they come to him beforehand and say, hey, listen, we need to trade you to get some assets back, but we want to sign you back. We want you here long term. We're going to pay you. Just want to get something out of you too. I think that's a possibility. That's the one advantage of us having Scott Boras as an agent is, you can make that happen.
Yeah, it's true.
But I mean, the Cubs might be winning some games, and I don't think they're quitting by any means.
No, they're putting the effort. You got to give them that, and the way they showed resiliency against the Dodgers, it was fun as hell to watch.
Yeah, I'm just tired of seeing them play the Pirates. It's like they shrink down to their competition level.
Yeah, even in those 2 wins, they had to fight tooth and nail. I'm like, can't you just blow these guys out for goodness sake? I mean, scrappiest little bunch. I mean, look, you still won 2 or 3. Okay, you almost came back today. The comeback kind of made the loss a little more frustrating, but whatever. But, you look at the other 2 wins, 3-2, down to the nail. It was Friday. You looked like you were going to cruise to a nice, boring 3-0 win. Then, of course, the 9th inning gets all interesting. And I think we have to go back to PNC Park soon, so we get to see more of the Pirates. Yay.
Do they play the Pirates like half of their games this season?
Well, it's like by the end of a few weeks, I think by the end of May, they're going to have like most of their games against the Pirates and Brewers like already done. They haven't even played the Cardinals yet.
I know.
And they played Cincinnati once, which, part of me is kind of okay with getting the Pirates done, but it's also not, because down the stretch you'd like to have those series against teams you need to beat, but at the same time it seems like they struggle against them anyways. And I mean, look, you have a winning record against them this season, but like you have like one solid win against them. Everything else has been like one run tooth and nail fighting against the dang Pirates.
You know what though? It doesn't matter. A win is a win. It just, you'd like to see them blow them out. And I'm glad we didn't start early against the Reds when the Reds were on fire. I want to be playing the Reds when their pitching is crappy and they're not hitting. That's when I want to play the Reds.
Right.
I mean, this Cubs team is, if they are to make the postseason, it's going to be a lot of luck is going to have to be on their side. They're going to have to. Yeah,
they're going to need timely wins and luck. Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to need to play teams at the right time. Like they can't play like playing the Dodgers during the Dodgers' real struggles. That's luck.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have played them early in the season, they steamroll you. And you caught them at a bad time for them. And, you can't take anything away because the Cubs still won those games and they did it against their best pitchers. But it helps that the Dodgers are not playing well. So you need more of that where you're facing teams during their down spells. And that's baseball. It is a grueling season. And every team is going to have ups and downs, and you're going to have a lot of luck as finding your peaks against the team you're playing's valleys. And so far we've gotten some luck, this week with that, and let's just hope we can, when we face the Cardinals, we get some of that same luck.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to be in St. Louis when the Cardinals are there. I'm not going to the game. I'm going down there. My buddy John, who was on this show earlier, we're going down to celebrate his wedding. The bridal party and the groomsmen, which I'm part of the groomsmen, we're going to be in St. Louis during that weekend. So hopefully I'm not in St. Louis and all the Cardinal fans around me are taunting me as the Cubs are getting murdered.
I still remember my best friend used to live in New York, and I lived in Philly, and I would go up to New York a lot because it's like the distance of Chicago to Milwaukee. It's not very far. Mm-hmm. And I went up there once because the Cubs were in town to play the Mets, and we went to the game, and Sammy Sosa was 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts that game, and the Cubs lost.
Ooh.
It was like the epitome of bad Sammy that day. And I'm wearing a Cubs jersey, walking out of Met Stadium in Queens, and some random New Yorker slows down his car to drive by, just rolls down the window and yells, "Hey, Sammy Sosa, you suck." I wasn't even wearing a Sammy Sosa jersey.
Oh, that's funny.
He just that was New York. Like, welcome to New York, everybody.
Oh, that's great.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I've said my piece.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, Alex Pat Sports Chat on Facebook, or Alex Pat Sports Chat .blogspot.com.
WordPress.com.
WordPress.com.
Also,
Sorry.
you can check me out on YouTube, Alex Pat. I've been posting a few more videos.
Yep. And
I know it's a mouthful. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a more of a tongue twister. Alex Pat Sports. I feel like, yeah, you may not have you ever seen the Brady Bunch? You might be too young for the Brady. When Cindy is trying to get rid of her speech impediment, it's only felt by the Thethor.
Yeah.
But share this podcast with your friends. It's how we grow the show. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her, you can have her, she's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears! Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna...